In forensic science, an autopsy tells us how a heart stopped. But in psychology, we perform a different kind of post-mortem. We call it the psychological autopsy. We don't look at the body, we look at the why. Why does a mind, designed by millions of years of evolution to survive at all costs, suddenly decide that its own survival is the enemy? Most people view suicide as a choice, but for the person inside the storm, it doesn't feel like a choice between living and dying. It feels like a choice between burning and jumping from a high-rise window. To understand this, we have to look into the tunnel, a state of mind psychologists call cognitive constriction. Today on LucidPsych, we are deconstructing the internal landscape of a crisis. We aren't looking at the tragedy, we're looking at the mechanics of the break. To understand why the mind reaches this point, we look to Thomas Joiner's Interpersonal Theory of suicide. It suggests that for a person to reach a point of lethal intent, three specific psychological pillars must converge at the exact same moment. Pillar 1, thwarted belongingness. This isn't just being lonely. It's the profound, bone-deep conviction that you are fundamentally disconnected from the human fabric. You can be in a room full of friends and feel like you are standing behind a wall of soundproof glass. Pillar 2, perceived burdensomeness. This is the most dangerous lie the mind tells itself. The ego begins to believe that your existence is a liability to those you love. The thought isn't, "I want to leave," it's, "they would be better off if I were gone." It is a twisted form of altruism where the mind thinks it is performing a final act of love by disappearing. Pillar 3, the acquired capability. Human beings have a biological firewall against self-harm. To bypass it, the mind must become desensitized to pain and fear through repeated exposure to trauma or hardship. When these three pillars meet, the exit door, which was once locked, suddenly swings open. But what is happening in the hardware, in the brain itself? When a person enters a suicidal crisis, they experience cognitive constriction. Imagine looking through a cardboard tube. You can only see the problem in front of you. You can no longer see your family, your past achievements, or a future where things change. This happens because the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, responsible for logic and problem-solving, literally starts to lose power. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your fear center, is screaming at maximum volume. The brain enters a survival mode glitch. It treats emotional pain the same way it treats physical fire. If your hand is on a hot stove, your brain doesn't tell you to think about the future. It tells you to pull away now. In a crisis, the mind views life itself as the hot stove. It isn't seeking death, it is seeking the cessation of pain. The greatest tragedy of the constricted mind is its loss of time perspective. In a healthy state, we know that emotions are like weather. They pass. But in the tunnel, the mind loses the ability to remember a before or imagine an after. It believes that this moment is forever. This is why intervention is so critical, because the tunnel is a temporary physiological state. If you can keep a person safe for just 24 hours, sometimes even just 1 hour, the prefrontal cortex can come back online. The CEO returns to the office. The tube through which they were looking begins to widen, and suddenly other options, other exits become visible again. If you are watching this and you feel the walls of the tunnel closing in, understand this. Your brain is currently experiencing a cognitive glitch. It is lying to you about your value and your future. The burden you think you are is a hallucination of a tired mind. The goal of LucidPsych is to bring the light of awareness into the darkest corners of the psyche. Understanding the why is the first step toward building the how to stay, how to connect, and how to wait for the storm to pass. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And the observer can always choose to wait for the light to return. If you or someone you know is struggling, please use the resources on screen and in the description below. In New Zealand, you can text or call 1737 anytime. For our global viewers, a list of international helplines is linked below. There is a world outside the tunnel. We just need you to stay long enough to see it.